Welcome aboard the Mothership Lexodus. This is your Current of Consciousness report for October 13th, 2025. A day when creative energy becomes a form of remembrance and joy becomes an act of reclamation. Today's transmission travels through a 5-frequency vortex, where motion, communication, and expression carry the codes of liberation. The sun rests in Libra, teaching us to balance purpose with pleasure, while the moon in Leo reminds us that visibility and warmth are not vanity, they are vitality. We'll decode how this frequency moves through the lives of Ashanti, Tisha Campbell, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and how it resonates with Indigenous Peoples Day, a global remembering of culture through voice, ceremony, and celebration. On this day, multiple energetic streams converge. In the physical calendar, nations across the Americas honor Indigenous Peoples Day, replacing the narratives of conquest with those of continuity. Communities gather in song, art, and ancestral remembrance, leaving proof that heritage is not history, it's heartbeat. Celestially, Libra Sun moves through its final decan, asking for ethical artistry and relational clarity. The Leo Moon amplifies confidence and creative visibility, urging us to express what's real rather than perform what's expected. Mercury in Scorpio sharpen intuition and truth-telling, while Venus in Libra softens the delivery, beauty and service of honesty. The overall event field is justice through joy. Today, creation becomes ceremony, and voice becomes bridge. The numerological breakdown of today's date reduces to the number 5. 5 is the number of motion, curiosity, and freedom. The pulse that follows stability. It's Mercury's domain, speech, travel, and connection. In the vortex pattern, 5 loops through 1, 7, 8, 4. Expansion, initiation, insight, and stability. The cycle reveals a truth. Movement reveals what structure can hold. Historically, the 13th of October has often carried revolutionary signatures, voices rising after systems settle. In the numerological field, it's the day the music shifts tempo. Not destruction, but redirection. The collective is asked, can your structure dance? Our first notable figure born on this date is Ashanti, who stands as a modern emblem of creative rebirth. Her story mirrors the vibration of today's 5-frequency portal, the power to transform motion into meaning. From her early days in the R&B era of the 2000s to her present autonomy as a producer and businesswoman, she has continually reclaimed the right to define herself. Her very name, drawn from the Ashanti Empire of West Africa, means warlike, yet her battles have often waged through melody, grace, and ownership of her voice. In her highest light, Ashanti reminds us that joy and sensual expression are not distractions from purpose, but confirmations of it. When she writes, dances, or performs from pleasure rather than pressure, her work becomes an invocation of freedom and self. In her shadow, we see how easily the pursuit of perfection or image can silence that joy. How artistry, when over-curated for approval, can begin to feel like captivity. Yet even this reveals her medicine. Rebirth requires self-permission. Ashanti's message for this portal is that creativity born from delight is a revolutionary act. She teaches that to honor your lineage is not to suffer for it, but to let it sing through you. Tisha Campbell carries the signature of joyful honesty, the courage to speak pain in a language the heart can hear. Through decades of performance in television, music, and film, she has embodied the archetype of the radiant truth bearer, the one who illuminates through authenticity. At her brightest, Tisha shows that humor can be holiness. Her laughter disarms pretense, allowing collective wounds to breathe again. She transforms the heavy into the human, and in doing so, invites us to remember that resilience can sound like laughter. In her shadow, the same radiance can become a mask, the performer smiling through exhaustion, the caregiver giving beyond capacity. Yet her evolution reveals the integration point, that transparency heals more than endurance ever could. Tisha's presence in this portal reminds us that communication is sacred when it carries sincerity. To speak truth with warmth without weaponizing it is one of the highest arts of Libra's balance. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez represents the archetype of the visionary architect, the one who builds futures through clarity of intention and courage of conviction. Rising from community organizing to the national political stage, she embodies the Libra principle of justice blended with a 5-frequency impulse for movement and change. In her light expression, AOC demonstrates what leadership looks like when intellect and empathy work together. She channels activism into artistry, using language, design, and communication as her building materials. Her presence shows that feminine intellect is not passive reflection, but catalytic architecture. In her shadow, the same intensity can harden into over-identification with struggle, the reformer carrying too much of the collective on her shoulders. Yet her integration point reveals that sustainable leadership requires nourishment. Vision must drink from the well of joy, or it burns itself out. Alexandria's lesson for this portal is that structure and spirit are not enemies. True systems of equity are born from imagination first. She stands as proof that liberation is not chaos, it is organized compassion. Overlaying these 3 feminine currents is the wider field of Indigenous Peoples Day, a remembrance that recenters the original stewards of the land and honors cultures that survive by transforming grief into continuity. This observance harmonizes perfectly with today's Libra-Leo current. It is justice expressed through celebration. Where colonization once silenced song, this day restores rhythm. It reminds us that creation itself is a ceremony of belonging. When we listen to Indigenous communities celebrating through dance, drum, or feast, we witness the same teaching embodied by our 3 archetypes. As this transmission comes to a close, we return to the heartbeat of the day, the remembrance of women who have always held positions of authority, not through domination, but through devotion. Across time, across cultures, we see them. The singer who restores the soul through rhythm, the truth speaker whose laughter heals what words alone cannot reach, the architect of vision who builds systems of care in the midst of chaos. These are the same archetypes we met today, each echoing the lineage of Indigenous matriarchs, spiritual workers, and healers who have always known that power and compassion were never meant to be separate currents. On Indigenous Peoples Day, this remembrance deepens. It reminds us that feminine leadership has never been a novelty. It is the original governance of harmony. The wisdom that listens before it speaks, that sings before it instructs. These women and countless unnamed others show us that authority doesn't need a podium. Sometimes it sounds like a drumbeat, a mother's voice, or the breath before a song. So as this portal's frequency continues to move through your life, hold this awareness. When you create from joy, you participate in an ancient ceremony, one that predates institutions, one that turns expression into balance and compassion into law. Let that be the offering of today's current. Let it ripple through your work, your art, your healing, your community. Keep your signal resonant, your joy wise, and your awareness tuned to the currents beneath the noise.